In one calendar year, one man scored more goals than some entire clubs manage in a season. 91 goals, not in a career, in 12 months. And yet, even that number doesn't tell you how good prime Messi really was. Because the deeper you dig into this story, the more you realize most fans, even die-hard ones, have no idea how insane his peak actually was. By the end of this video, you'll understand why some experts believe we may never see a prime like this again. If you love sports stories, documentaries, and untold moments from the world of sports, make sure to subscribe to Sports Arena. Everyone knows the name. Everyone has seen the highlights. But prime Messi has almost become a meme, a phrase people throw around without truly understanding what it meant in real time, on the pitch, week after week, for the better part of a decade. This isn't just a highlight reel story. This is about how a 5'7" kid from Rosario, Argentina, once rejected by clubs for being too small, became a version of a footballer so statistically dominant that his own manager once said trying to stop him was like trying to stop the rain with your hands. But here's the real question this video is going to answer. Which year was actually his true peak? Most fans have a guess. Almost none of them agree. And by the end, you'll see why the answer is more shocking and more mathematically absurd than most people realize. The rejection before the rise. Before we talk about the peak, we need 15 seconds on the valley, because it makes everything after it almost unbelievable. As a child, Messi was diagnosed with a growth hormone deficiency. Clubs in Argentina wouldn't pay for his treatment. His own boyhood club, Newell's Old Boys, let him slip away because of the cost. It was Barcelona, gambling on a 13-year-old they'd barely seen play, who signed him on a napkin contract and paid for the treatment that literally allowed his body to grow. Think about that for a second. The greatest peak in football history almost never physically existed. But this was only the beginning. The quiet rise nobody predicted. By his late teens, Messi was already brilliant, dribbling past grown men like they were cones. But brilliant isn't the same as unstoppable. Between 2005 and 2010, he was clearly special. A Ballon d'Or winner, a Champions League winner. Good, great even. Yet almost nobody knew what was coming next. Because somewhere between 2010 and 2012, something changed. Under Pep Guardiola, Messi wasn't just playing football anymore, he was breaking it. He was moved into a false nine position, dropping deep, pulling defenders out of shape, then exploding into space no defense had an answer for. What happened next shocked everyone, even people who thought they'd seen it all. The year that broke the sport, 2012. This is the number that opened this video. 91 goals in a single calendar year, for club and country combined, an official Guinness World Record, surpassing a mark that had stood since the 1970s. Not 91 in a great season stretched over 10 months, 91 in 365 days. To put that into perspective, most elite strikers in the modern game celebrate 25 to 30 goals in a full year as a career best. Messi more than tripled that, in an era with tighter defending, more scouting, and more tactical preparation than football had ever seen. And the terrifying part, he wasn't even a traditional striker. He was creating chances, dropping into midfield, then still somehow arriving in the box more often than actual forwards. But even this, the 91-goal year, is not the year most experts argue was his true peak. Because the real disaster for opposing defenses hadn't even arrived yet. 2014-2015, the treble season. Here's where the debate gets interesting. In 2012, Messi was a scoring machine, but 3 years later he became something scarier, a complete, unstoppable footballer inside a team that finally matched his level. The 2014-15 Barcelona side, alongside Luis Suarez and Neymar, didn't just win games. They won the Spanish League, the Copa del Rey, and the Champions League, a continental treble. And Messi wasn't a passenger in that success. He was the engine. What made this version of Messi different wasn't just goals. It was control. Defenses that had spent 3 years studying the 2012 version now had to deal with a smarter, more devastating player who could dismantle a match without even needing the ball for long stretches. Do you think this version, the treble-winning, complete footballer, was actually scarier than the 91-goal record breaker? Let us know in the comments. Because there's a third contender for true peak that most fans completely overlook. The forgotten peak, 2022-2023. Almost nobody talks about this one the same way. By 2022, Messi was 35 years old, older, slower on paper, past what most athletes would call their physical prime. And yet, at the World Cup in Qatar, he delivered arguably the single greatest individual tournament performance in the history of the sport, dragging a talented but inconsistent Argentina squad through must-win game after must-win game, culminating in a final that is still debated as the greatest match ever played. This is the part most fans don't fully process. Physical prime and footballing prime are not the same thing. In 2022, Messi had less speed and fewer explosive dribbles than 2012 Messi, but more control of a match, more composure under pressure, more raw will. So which was the real peak? The record-breaking scorer of 2012, the complete, trophy-devouring version of 2015, or the aging genius who single-handedly carried a nation to glory in 2022? What would you have done differently if you were a defender assigned to stop any of these three versions? The statistical truth nobody argues with. Here's where the suspense resolves, because there is one number that ties all three eras together, and it's the reason serious analysts consider Messi's overall career peak unmatched rather than picking a single year. Across roughly a 15-year period, Messi maintained a goal and assist output that most players can't sustain for even 3 consecutive seasons. Multiple individual Ballon d'Or awards, multiple continental trophies, and a World Cup, spread across 3 genuinely different versions of the same player. Most legends have one prime. Messi effectively had 3. Most fans still don't know this. The reason scouts and coaches struggled to design a defense against him wasn't just his dribbling or his finishing. It was that he kept reinventing which version of unstoppable he was, faster than football itself could adjust. If you're enjoying this breakdown so far, don't forget to subscribe, because we cover the biggest stories, careers, and turning points in sports history every single week here on Sports Arena. Why it may never happen again. Modern football is more physically demanding, more heavily scouted, and more tactically restrictive than ever before. Analysts now break down a player's tendencies before a ball is even kicked. Data scouting has closed gaps that once let generational talents operate in space nobody else could find. That's exactly why some experts argue this level of sustained, multi-era dominance is structurally harder to repeat today than it was even a decade ago. Who do you think was really responsible for creating this version of Messi? Barcelona's academy, Guardiola's tactical system, or Messi's own relentless refinement of his game? Let us know what you believe below. So how good was prime Messi actually? The honest answer is that the question itself is slightly wrong. There wasn't one prime. There were 3. The record-breaking scorer of 2012, the complete, trophy-collecting force of 2015, and the aging genius who conquered the world in 2022. Each one would be considered the greatest peak of most players' entire careers. Messi lived through all 3. Would this player still be considered a legend if the World Cup had never happened? Almost certainly. But it's the fact that he kept building new peaks over and over across 15 years that makes this story genuinely unmatched in football history. So here's the final question for you. Which of these 3 versions of Messi do you think was truly his peak? 2012, 2015, or 2022? Drop your answer in the comments. We read every single one. Subscribe to Sports Arena for more incredible sports stories, rise and fall documentaries, business breakdowns, and untold moments from the world of sports. And if you want to see the flip side of this story, the players who reached a peak this high and then collapsed just as fast, our next video breaks down exactly that. You won't want to miss it.